Hello and welcome to the PowerSwitch, gaming's call-in talk radio show. My name is Peter Spezia, and today is June 10th, 2017. This is the EA E3 2017 episode of the podcast, coming off of the EA press conference at EA E3 2017. Lots of E's, lots of numbers and letters.
We're not doing E.
We're
not doing E.
That's important to note. Joined here by Scott White of DashingNerds.com. Thank you for joining me here today.
Oh, well, thanks for having me, Pete. It's good to be here.
Yeah, it's our seventh year of watching E3 together here locally. But first year here on the PowerSwitch with you. And for being a call-in podcast, you can tune in at rhymeswithasia.com/call throughout E3 2017. After the presentations, we'll be having these sort of podcasts here. I don't expect them to go too long.
Yeah.
We'll get people in very quickly, especially since the demand seems very high, in particular for these E3 episodes. I wanted to start, though, by kind of giving a quick recap of what happened at the press conference, some of our highs and lows, and then give a letter grade before we pass it off to the callers here. Let's start. I want to break down. They talked about 8 games. They showed 8 games. Started with Madden 18, Long Shot, the story mode.
Opened with the drumline.
Yeah, well, drumline all wearing those Tom Brady uniforms. It's the GOAT edition this year. Yeah, the story mode comes to Madden 18 after it did for FIFA. I guess Frostbite allows them to do that. It's interesting. It brings, they talk about innovation, it brings a new layer to Madden in particular this year, but surprisingly not a lot of footage of the underpinnings, the core gameplay, which was really surprising. I mean, Madden is almost 2 months away. Yeah. Like that's just what it is, and to see a few shots and on Scorpio, we got a spin around of Ezekiel Elliott of the Cowboys, and that was a little lacking, I suppose.
Yeah, the power of Scorpio lets us render stitching.
Yeah,
or fabric.
I mean, stitching
texture
on those uniforms is pretty important. Battlefield 1 night maps coming out in the summer. Also, the In the Name of the Tsar DLC, bringing the Russia, the Eastern Front involvement. 8 new maps in total, and so many improvements. Yes. I think it was neat that they involved the community and talked about all the different Twitch streamers and some of the interesting highlights. As someone who's terrible at Battlefield 1, but I did not need to see necessarily.
There was too much with the old. I mean,
it's an older game,
right?
They're trying to extend the life of the game. So I didn't necessarily need to see that. FIFA 18 brought out the Men in Blazers, which I guess is a
big fans of Alex Hunter.
Big fans of Alex Hunter.
Made up character from FIFA's story mode last year. Big fan of Alex Hunter.
Men in Blazers, a podcast about football. European football, whatever.
Soccer, if you're ignorant.
They're also on TV on Fox Sports channel, and so they count as celebrities. Those are 2 celebrities right there. They are known people. Alex Hunter. I mean, can we talk about how they had a whole trailer, like 2-minute at least long trailer devoted to a fictional character?
Well, it was a story trailer because the new game is like the sequel to it. That didn't bother me, but like when the Blazers were on stage
and talking about it,
was just like, okay, this is so corny. And
we were talking on the Facebook Live on Dashing Nerds, and we were hosting all of our pre and during conference reactions there at facebook.com/dashingnerds. And we were talking before the show of how EA kind of seems to drop the ball on the presentation front.
Yeah.
And this was kind of where it was.
Hide that they're reading from a teleprompter, disguise or hide a bit better that they aren't lizard people.
Because Andrew Wilson was a bit licky on the lips. And don't pause for applause that is not coming.
Yes, that. And make sure that if you are looking at a teleprompter, that you're like also looking at the right camera. Because with the... What was it? No, that was Need for Speed.
It was Need for Speed, and So, that was next, Need for Speed Payback with a YouTuber that he's like, oh, you probably heard of me, but I'm going to introduce myself anyway. Well, we don't know you, but okay.
And your fake interaction was very, very fake.
I will say it was the most... Well, I'll take that back. Star Wars Battlefront II had probably the best gameplay, but that outside, because obviously that dominated the EA press conference, I'd say Need for Speed was the most interesting gameplay shown.
It looks fun. It reminded me. I wish they had done a bit more they had done less at the beginning and shown more where the cops and the police kind of moved in. Because I absolutely, and I mentioned this during the press conference, I loved Hot Pursuit. I thought it was a fantastic game. I love that Need for Speed. So I get a bit more of that vibe. There were a lot of random explosions and poor civilians in that trailer, but it definitely did look fun.
You got to tease some gameplay for Gamescom, though, because that'll be coming up in a couple months.
Also doesn't need a story mode, I'm sorry. The 3 playable characters, okay, fine, but...
Hey, it worked for Grand Theft Auto, and maybe it'll work there. I think my highlight of the overall conference was A Way Out. This is from Hazelight. Part of the development team is the team who made Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons.
Right.
Which, that was a really fun game. If you haven't given that game a shot, do check that out. But in early 2018, this is going to be a co-op only game, telling how kind of narrative can be done with split screen, asymmetric co-op multiplayer with a story basically of a prison break and the different aspect that can be involved. That was the game that kind of drew me in the most. If I had to pick one, it's like, okay, I'm interested. Early 2018, well, I'll check that out. That was interesting. It was new.
It definitely looks. It looks fun, and I definitely could see having a good time playing with friends. I like that it's couch co-op as well. I'm going to be curious to see how they handle if you're offline and don't have anyone to play with. I think they will end up having some sort of AI
maybe
control the other person or something, but I think they would kind of be shooting themselves in the foot if it's like, okay, you're offline and your friend can't come over. Sorry, you can't play our game.
And the interesting thing with Brothers was, if you remember, you controlled both analog sticks, which controlled separate characters, and I almost thought, like, are they going to carry that over in this? Not the case, but was interested by that. They talked about Seed, the Seek Extraordinary Experiences division, when that kind of leads into the new BioWare IP, codenamed Dylan, finally known as Anthem.
Yes.
Anthem is going to be, I guess, a big tenet of Microsoft's presentation tomorrow, which we will see more of.
We'll be covering, of course.
What did you think of it? I mean,
I don't even want to make an opinion of it yet.
We saw too little. Yeah.
It was too little. It wasn't. There was no gameplay. It was just pre-rendered, shadowy, dynamic or dramatic footage of like a Titan-ish open mech suit opening up, not as big as a Titan from Titanfall, but
almost like more between like a Halo power suit and a Titan,
or like an Iron Man armor.
Sure.
Or even a Spartan armor. Like the size of it and everything reminded me very much of a Spartan from Halo. Granted, that's not how you get into a Mjolnir armor, but
the big open world seemed Destiny-like. The talk of
I'm gonna wait with the open world because they showed like a forest and everything, but I'm not even going to say I like it or I don't like it. It's like, okay, I'll wait till tomorrow to really make a opinion.
And then I'm playing Horizon Zero Dawn right now. And so when you're talking about like big, lush, open environments, but there's the people living versus the beasts outside, it's like, well, that's right up that alley right there. So we'll see more about that during Microsoft tomorrow. NBA Live 18, I mean, they tried to show gameplay, but the stopping and starting isn't moving, and they're like,
let's rotate the camera for some reason outside.
When you're bringing that game back after a couple years to go after a big, not only sales but critical success juggernaut like the NBA 2K series, you got to show more. And I don't think the one was, did it enough. I mean, granted, they were clone troopers apparently, according to the multiplayer demo at the end. But
nice start to E3's mess ups.
Yes,
this year.
No, they got to see more. That was could have had a better showing.
They touted it as like this big dramatic new way to play basketball. It's to create a character that I mean nothing about. And I don't play sports games, so maybe I'm missing a lot of the nuance of it. Especially, but it just to me seemed like the standard, you create a character and then you play a bunch of games getting them up to the NBA championship and win it.
Right.
I mean,
but the streets matter in the league, and they have those real parks. They've got Venice Beach, they've got Rucker Park. I mean, that's big to that community, but I don't know if you're topping 2K from that.
No.
Anyway, Star Wars Battlefront II, the big behemoth of the show, overall I think took up a third of the time. And I get it's their big game. They're devoting so many studio resources to it.
It's their main shooter this year. I mean, because they don't have a new Battlefield. Yes, they'll have expansions, but
then they bring out the star of the story, who is also another celebrity. So 3 celebrities on stage.
Yes.
And they had John Boyega, but he was off screen and off stage,
He was in London
that
doing
doesn't
a
count.
performance.
He was doing a play.
Yes.
But the multiplayer with the Assault on Theed, that could have been a separate live stream of its own. I don't know why they brought that into the presentation as a whole to have it be 20 minutes. I mean, my goodness. So,
well, one of the things is they handled it so much better last year with Battlefield 1. They mentioned that there was going to be this tournament
after the show.
And it was just after the show. And it's like, if you want to watch it, awesome. If you don't watch it. But having it be put on at the end of their actual conference was a cash-in. I think a lot of people probably didn't watch the Battlefield one last year. So it was like, okay, we'll just attach it to our actual conference, and people just magically watch.
But last year they had celebrities, so if that didn't work last year, anyway, whatever. So if you want to talk about our E3 yes or no questions, decisions now. I mean, celebrities. The question is more than one celebrity on stage for EA. Yes, that already is with the Men in Blazers. That counts as 2. If you don't even want to include the actress, fine. But that's
who just loves Star Wars.
She cannot wait to get her hands on it, and she's got her mom backstage.
She was tweeting about story mode last year because we all wanted it, which we did, but I don't. Fake scripted nerd.
So yes, more than one celebrity. And no on the Amy Hennig game. I think they just went all in on Star Wars for Battlefront 2, and they'll wait on these other 2 games, the Visceral games, and then Respawn for at least next year, if not the year beyond.
Well, there's always Gamescom or even the PlayStation event in the winter and things like that. So there are plenty of other conferences. Maybe they're waiting to, like you were saying, till after Battlefront 2 comes out. So all the Star Wars attention is on this and how it ties from Return of the Jedi to the new game or the new series, the new trilogy, and all that. So I think that's probably partially why they was like, no, we can't show that.
All right. Before we get to the callers here, give me your grade right now is where you're sitting.
I would say B-. I thought I wasn't a huge fan of the scheduling where you do sports game, not sports game, sports game, not sports game. I wish it was all the sports was in just like one section. Need for Speed looks fun. I'm hoping I could do more than... I hope the story is good if I have to play the story. Like you said, A Way Out looks interesting. I'll keep my eyes open on that. Battlefront 2 looks like a lot of fun. It feels to me what they should have had in Battlefront 1. But I feel, and I mentioned this before, that I always felt like Battlefront 1, they spent so much time getting it to look really pretty that they kind of forgot that there had to be a game attached to it. I love that the DLC they announced would be free. I thought that was incredibly smart and good of EA, so good on you, EA. But just kind of the ending really dragged for me, the amount of time they spent showing the multiplayer that could have been its own thing. The rehash of Battlefield 1 stuff was a bit slow. The over-exaggeration and kind of crazy over-promising, borderline over-promising from the A Way Out developer.
Oh, yeah, that was a bit unusual,
Bit much, but overall, not horrible. I've definitely seen worse conferences. I've seen better, but I thought overall I would say B- B range.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the photogrammetry on Battlefront 2 always continues to amaze. I'm giving it a C+. It was for 8 games, you got to have each kind of have a powerful punch, and I think they missed on certain aspects. I mean, the sports games were a little undercooked.
Yeah.
Really hyping up the story mode in both Madden, which I get, it's new, but the Alex Hunter thing was a little unusual for me. I mean, I loved A Way Out. I think that was, my personal star of the show. And it's the pacing, it's the EA misunderstanding the presentation of certain aspects. Like, they haven't nailed this down yet. And then, it was a killer to have the multiplayer looped in for 20 minutes at the end. It totally dragged in just a complete disinterest there. And I think, when your big new thing that you're showing, when you're talking about the future, and you're talking about Anthem, a new IP from BioWare, and you can only show so much of it because you're relegating it to Scorpio Talk tomorrow. Showing. Yeah, I mean, it lacks the overall presentation. Yeah, you're right. I've seen way worse. Yeah. So I'll say C+. And,
Okay.
we'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
When we come back on the Power Switch here, we'll get to the callers. What do you think? Let us know what you thought about the EA press conference, and you can also build off of what another caller had to say as well. That is all when we come back here on the Power Switch. Welcome back to the Power Switch, here with Scott White from DashingNerds.com.
Hey, everybody.
Here for the E3 2017 show for EA. And when it's 30%, 33% Star Wars Battlefront 2, let's get to the callers and see what you had to say, if that was, appetizing to you, or did something else catch your eye. Joining us from Pennsylvania, Seth, welcome back to the Power Switch.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for calling in. Happy E3 to you. What did you want to talk about today?
Thank you. Battlefront, of course. I mean, I don't know if it was 33% of the conference. It was definitely enough to get me, I, of course, didn't like Battlefront 1. I mean, I only played part of and it didn't run very well on my computer. But this I can see myself getting. It looks good. It looks just as good not just as good, but it looks like a faithful sequel to the original Battlefronts.
Yeah, and I mean, are you a fan of those original games, I take it?
Oh, yeah. I mostly played Battlefront. I think the biggest problem with the 2015 Battlefront was, it's not really the biggest problem, but my biggest issue with it was that the game feel just did not feel right. Like Battlefront 1 and 2 back in the day, those were very arcadey games, and there was a certain clunkiness to them that was, I guess unplayable isn't really the word. They just, the movement in it felt just right. And this seems to be mimicking the movement of those old games. The other big thing was that the maps in the new one just seemed like this weird cluster of people running into each other, and there was no real sense of okay, this is where I need to be going, this is where the enemies are going to be. People just popped up behind you, above you, wherever, especially with the jetpacks on everyone. I'm looking forward to the fact that it's class-based again, and I like the way the maps looked.
Yeah, a lot of thought has seemed to go into the game design this time around. And as someone who is an outsider to playing the Battlefront games, I will say, the first one, the 2015 game, because I hate when we get into this, same title but different year comparison to the past. The 2015 game, it did look a lot like, because we're going to DICE, this is Battlefield reskinned to be Star Wars. And now it looks like this does have echoes to a Battlefront game of the past. So
this feels like and look like what Battlefront 2015 should have been from the get-go. It definitely looks like a lot of fun. I myself didn't catch too much about the improvements to the gameplay or the combat or movement, like you had mentioned, Seth. Just because I didn't play much of the first Battlefront, so I didn't pick up on that. But with you being a big Battlefront fan, that's good to know. Yeah, I still wish there was ground to earth combat or ground to space combat. But
that was of course always going to be the biggest wish. Maybe we'll get it for Battlefront 3, which
I keep something for it.
And to be fair, that would actually be kind of fitting to save it for Battlefront 3. That's what we've really been waiting for all this time. But I do like that we're going back to having all of those ships, at least ground to air combat. So I don't know. Did the 2015 Battlefront have to air?
Yeah, it had some vehicles, I want to say. I don't think it had tons. But it looked interesting in Battlefront 2, and correct me if I'm wrong if someone saw something differently. It looks like you don't find a X-Wing or a TIE fighter on the ground and then you can get in it and then fly around. It looks like you just swap to it. You use those hero points to swap to that unit. Which
on a respawn.
It's like
Matt was saying that it's just like the heroes were in previous games, where it is a reward that you get for playing well.
That's kind of a bummer.
You know, I think back in the original games, you could choose. There were multiple ways that you could do those things, like you set up a playlist of maps and instant action. Like you could choose it so that maybe the worst person, like the person who's having the most trouble on the team, would get it. You could choose it so that it's randomly given, or you could choose it so that someone gets a certain number of points. But these are the kind of things that I want to see, like more customability, like just going into instant action and having this playlist of different maps and different map types. Now that I'm thinking about it, I hope that we return of Capture the Flag, because that was always really fun in the older games. But the thing that I thought was really cool, the gameplay that we saw, was that those spawn platforms for the droids were moving. I didn't realize that was part map of gameplay type, but
were they moving? I thought it was just like a stationary back of a truck or something.
That's what they would have been in Battlefront in the original games, but they were actually moving. And I think part of the goal was, like on a lot of Hoth maps, you know, you're trying to move forward with your infantry while your spawn platform moves forward. And that was part of why I was glad that it lasted so long, because it showed that, well, they had the one setting where they were outside of Naboo, things were rolling forward, and you were following that, trying to push it. It definitely reminded me of Overwatch, which, if you're going to copy a successful multiplayer shooter, I think if the 2015 Battlefront had been good gameplay-wise, nobody would have been complaining about single player.
Right. That's a fair point.
Yeah.
We'll give it that. I'm really interested to see how people take to this game in particular. I mean, when they're talking about, like, 3 times the content, like, well, you got 3 times the movies. I will give it big credit to see if they follow through. I mean, the free DLC is huge.
I like that they made it. They mentioned that they got a lot of criticism about it, a lot of feedback from the first game, so that's good to know.
I hope they can follow through with it.
We'll see.
All right, well, Seth, thank you for calling in. Really appreciate the time. Anything you'd like to plug in particular?
Nothing really. Just you can follow me on Twitter at Major Moses, and yeah, I'll be around.
All right, really appreciate the insight. Thank you for calling in.
Yep, thanks.
Joining us from New Jersey, Matt. Welcome back to the PowerSwitch.
What's up?
Hey. What was on your mind with this EA E3 2017 conference?
Well, I can tell you exactly what's on my mind. There's no version of the Battle of Naboo in either Legends or current canon where there are clone troopers present. This game's literally unplayable.
It's a mishmash of all things Star Wars.
It's true. That's like Battlefront 2. I mean, that's like the old Battlefronts. It's one thing it has going for it.
So the old games are Battlefront Legends, and the new ones are Battlefront canon. I think that's the best way that we can separate them from each other.
There's nothing like to be out of canon with the old Battlefront games.
I was making a joke of how old Star Wars canon is called Legends, but ultimately not the conversation I'm here to have. I thought that was absolutely Star Wars Battlefront looks amazing. They really took what was overall a very mediocre game and showed that they understood what didn't go correctly, and they owned up to it. And I think they've done a tremendous job of making us confident in this new game's success. And you mentioned make it less like Battlefield and make it more like Battlefront. My biggest fear going into the original Battlefront Legends or Battlefront canon was that it would just be a Battlefield clone. And I ended up coming out of it with the feeling that I wish it was just a Battlefield clone, because that would have been better than the game that we got.
Interesting.
Overall, the idea that they really nailed the feeling of Star Wars, they didn't nail it in quite the right way. because the way that the game is set up and the way that all the maps are set up, you don't feel like you're a character in Star Wars. You feel like you're an extra in a Star Wars movie. You don't feel like you have any direct input on the game, on the battle. And it just ends up feeling like it feels really superficial. And watching the gameplay, it gave me a lot of confidence that this was going to feel like you were a part of a Star Wars battle. You were not just watching Star Wars things happen all around you. It was really, really amazing seeing it and feeling like this is Star Wars. This is what I grew up loving, and this is what feels like the game that I've been waiting for. And I think that this might end up being one of the best Star Wars games that's ever been made.
It's a strong statement, and I think you're right. I mean, when they are talking about, they have the backing of Disney and Lucasfilm and all that, and you're bringing in all the content. I think to have the single player be the cherry on top as something new to connect. Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens. Yeah, like that's just going to be
always great too.
That's going to be extra. And when I get the multiplayer.
I hope they don't play it as an extra. I hope they put actual effort in. So I don't want the single player to feel tacked on.
Well, that's funny because the Battlefront Legends had a tacked on story mode, and it ended up being one of the most interesting stories in the whole Star Wars universe. It was the story between Episode 3 and Episode 4, following the Clone Battalion as the Republic fell and became the Galactic Empire, and it ended up providing a lot of insight into the ways that clones felt and thought. And just like the Battle of Coruscant even had, just from the narration of the clone troopers, had a line where if we had any private thoughts of rebellion, any doubts, we kept them to ourselves, right as we walked into the Jedi Temple. And just little lines like that, even though it was literally tacked on, it had the multiplayer maps, kind of vapid objectives. It was a wonderful and very memorable part of the Star Wars canon. So even if I'm not so worried about it being tacked on, I don't think it will be, but I'm not so worried about that.
Yeah, it's pushing me with all that's going to be included. It's pushing me as okay, this is a possible purchase this holiday. And that is so much closer than I was for the 2015 game.
Oh, yeah.
I think I'm already sold.
Yeah.
It's going to be my shooter, my fall, winter shooter.
Yeah.
I don't care about Call of Duty so much anymore, and this looks fantastic, and I've been hankering for a good Star Wars shooter, so this will do it for me, I know.
Yeah, the 2015 game got my decision on that was not for a penny more than $20.
Yeah.
And then eventually I played it through the Origin Access for because it was $5 a month for Battlefront plus other games, and I never ended up biting the bullet on getting the DLC to play all the later stuff and play with the larger populations because the game just wasn't very fun. In addition to the fact that the $120 season pass, whatever it was.
So ridiculous. Then that's going to be a big thing to have. As we said, that DLC being free, they better stick to that, and that'll help their cause as a games as a service, which is a big sort of trend in the industry lately.
I think Overwatch has helped just because Blizzard has shown that if you make a quality game and have the free characters and all those still be free, you can still make a lot of money just on the cosmetic things and things along those lines, as long as the game's good.
As long as you have the core underpinning.
Much as I love Overwatch, I don't want to point to it as a sterling example of pay for cosmetics done right because of the gacha mechanics of the loot boxes.
The random boxes,
Okay, pay for cosmetics, fine. That's perfect, go for it. But pay for a random chance at cosmetics, gachapon mechanics are predatory. They're bad enough in mobile games where they're the main source of income for the game. Have them on a $60 game as well.
I simply meant more that it proved that you can have a lot of really good content, like characters and maps, be free, and still
monetize
in other ways and still be successful with it.
Because you don't want to be like the one guy spending $1,000 in Galaxy of Heroes. That's
that he's been playing every day since it launched.
Well, I remember for Galaxy of Heroes there was a discussion thread when one of the characters came out that even the whales had trouble getting, and they were and the whales were everyone, even free to play, even the dolphin players need to band together and show this is unacceptable, and everyone else is dude, you pay $300 regularly This is what we deal with every day. Get used to it.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Well, Matt, thank you for calling in. Another Battlefront fan. Good to have that perspective as well. Anything you'd like to plug?
Well, speaking of Overwatch and their gacha mechanics, it's the double XP weekend. So it's never been a better time to just play Overwatch for 2 straight days.
Ends on the 12th, I want to say, if I remember correctly. So Monday?
Monday night, whatever it is.
Yeah.
A lot of downtime in between E3 events this year, so certainly a lot of time to play games. I know we'll be doing different games as well.
We'll be doing stuff, something.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think I'll be able to make it to a lot of the post-conference shows.
How dare you?
Me to work and make money, and that's just terrible. And my work has blocked voice over IP connections, so I can't even.
Lame.
Use your phone.
And then that's data.
We're only the noobs who've taken days off with paid vacation to.
I'm not even being paid for the next 2 days.
Oh, well, you're doing it wrong, sir. Well, Matt, thanks for calling in.
Days off.
Appreciate the time.
Absolutely.
Joining us from Michigan, Greg, welcome to the PowerSwitch.
Another dashing nerd.
Oh boy. Well, welcome.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Pretty good.
Not
Thank
too
you for
bad.
calling in.
Yeah, thank you for having me. So E3, day 1 with EA.
Yeah, man.
And what I had coined as the Real Housewives of competitive sport games. Yeah, they I thought that was interesting. That's where I'll start with their we're bringing the people you've never seen before to competitive gaming, and they're gonna cry and they're gonna laugh and they're gonna win wrestling belts.
That was another thing. They mentioned the new competitive experience for Battlefield, and then they do nothing, and then they go to FUT.
They didn't show it.
It did have weird transitions.
Like
It started with Battlefield, and then we're talking FIFA, we're talking Madden, making stars out of our players, and it didn't seem like concrete plans. We were talking about how they wanted to make it seem like EVO, but EVO was kind of started, grassroots in the fighting game community, and it wasn't corporate driven from the start. But EA sees the money in esports.
Their tournaments just look forced.
Yeah,
it's like a $7 billion, $8 billion a year industry now, esports.
Oh, I know. I'm not saying it's a small industry. It's just, it seems so forced, and they're trying so, okay, we're playing football. Let's make a miniature soccer stadium, and we'll put the 2 computers or systems facing each other with the scoreboard on the side. It'll be awesome.
Yeah.
And then we'll give them a wrestling belt.
They're going to be inundated now with these guys watching E3 going, I think I can do that. And then they're just going to get a ton of emails like, put me in your house full of other people.
I'm the best.
I'm going to be one of those kids who swears and then doesn't offer a handshake because he's a little shit.
Yeah. I'm going to have the worst
I bet he was a
sportsmanship
John.
ever.
Probably was.
Yeah. But I thought that was pretty interesting. The guys in Blazers, or men in Blazers, or I called them the guys with jackets.
Mm-hmm.
They were pretty interesting. The hella stoned YouTube guy.
Yes.
Who couldn't read to save his life. He had 2 lines, and he messed up both of them.
Yeah.
It was so bad. It just goes back to the presentation where we're like, they should figure this out by now. Like, this is where...
Yeah. I especially liked how they were talking about a feature in Need for Speed with him covering up the screen and then switching to a camera where you see the back of the computer that's doing what they're supposed to be showing. I like that.
You have rehearsal for blocking for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he goes, Need for Speed Payback. You guys love Need for Speed Payback, right? We're like, none of us know what that is.
Yeah, and that awkward pause where he's like, oh, I think something's wrong with the teleprompter.
Yeah, no, it's you, dude. It's just wrong with you.
Yeah.
I didn't hear you guys yet talk about Need for Speed Payback, though, with our lovely Dawson's Creek cast of Tyler, Jess, and Matt.
I don't want to wait.
So open up Fast and Furious.
And watch that movie instead of this.
What I thought was interesting is I got a Burnout vibe from it.
Yeah.
Which made me a little excited because I loved the Burnout.
Oh, Burnout's so good.
When it went away, I got real sad.
Yeah.
So if this can be like a beautiful marriage between Need for Speed and Burnout, I think it has a lot of promise. But I'm not yet sold on the use 3 people to complete something.
Right. Well, Need for Speed Hot Pursuit on the PS3 and 360 was very Burnout Need for Speedy.
Yeah, especially when you had the takedowns.
Yeah. I mean, I like racing games. I like the Forzas, and I played the last Need for Speed, and it was too Tokyo drifty for me. But this one looks like it's got quite a bit of promise from what I've seen so far, and it's gorgeous.
Yes, super pretty. Super pretty.
And it looks like it's possibly directed by Michael Bay.
Lots of explosions everywhere for no real reason.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like Michael Bay did a Fast and the Furious movie is what Need for Speed Payback is.
We don't speak of a Need for Speed movie. We learned once.
No.
We don't.
Bitch.
Yeah.
We don't. Need for Speed, bitch!
I'll move on to A Way Out. That guy, he made me excited because of how excited he was.
Yeah, I'll give you that. But I think in doses. In doses.
I just got flashbacks to No Man's Sky.
If I could count the times he said, "I'm really excited because this game makes me excited," it's like
I'm glad you made it.
There's diminishing returns every time you say it.
Like, you can do everything. Okay, a lot of everything, or mostly everything.
He also did like the extreme Borat. He was like, "The couch is very nice." Amazing. I loved it. But the game itself, I miss couch co-op.
Yes.
And it's going to be kind of weird if you can't play it without another person.
Yeah.
Also, I wasn't aware that they wore khakis in prison.
Well, obviously.
Like button up work shirts and khakis, and I'm like, yes, this game must be set far back because I've never seen a prison jumpsuit like that.
Yeah, we were saying it looked very 70s when you get to some of... In the hospital was where it really tipped me off. It's like, that's an old-looking hospital.
Yeah. Someone died in that room recently.
They haven't sterilized that.
I think A Way Out was probably their high point because they way overdid Star Wars. Like, super overdid
Star Wars definitely looks amazing, but I will agree with you. It lasted too long. Yeah,
they could have showed me maybe 5-10 minutes of gameplay. You didn't need to show me an entire match. I mean, I can figure that out when I play it, and it all looks cool, and it gave me the warm, fuzzy feeling of the original Battlefronts way back when. But I mean, you could have easily taken 10 of those. What was it, 25 minutes that they wasted on gameplay?
Or make it its own separate thing where you could choose to tune in for a little bit, or
instead of them sitting there talking, they could have played it afterwards.
Exactly.
I think the last thing I had to touch on was the BioWare, new BioWare thing we know absolutely nothing about, which is a mixture of what looks like Titanfall guys in the Attack on Titan city facing evolved monsters that live outside.
See, that pitch right there would sell me on anything.
Yeah.
Robot armors, Attack on Titan, monsters.
From looking at it, that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
But from what I heard beforehand, before the conference started, was it is supposed to be their counter to Destiny.
Right.
An open world kind of multiplayer online game. And I guess we have to wait for the giant Scorpio reveal tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll see you tomorrow.
More of the gameplay, which I really love that HD stitching.
You're super excited for the Scorpio and the announcement, Greg, tomorrow. We've talked
I've got a giant Scorpio boner.
What did you think of the segment where they showed off the sheer amazing, fantastical power of what Scorpio's bringing to Madden?
Okay, so that was the lamest example to show what Scorpio can do. Okay, so it's Madden. It's a dude standing there in a football jersey. You can't really give me much texture. You can't really give me much lighting. You can't show the raw power of a system by a football player standing there.
Or a knee pad. Like, they did a close-up of, like, a knee pad.
Especially when he said, but graphics are one thing. It goes beyond that. And then they didn't really talk about what those other things, like.
Yeah. Like, I mean, he could have shown me the Made in China sticker on the pants of the football player, and that might have been a little more impressive. They're like, look, you see the tiny details. But they showed me some stitching of a guy that plays for the Redskins, and then some other dude standing there, and I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
So for me, when we talk about Scorpio tomorrow for Microsoft, and when there's leaving much of Anthem there, what makes E3 really exciting is the new games. What is new?
Oh, yeah.
We're surprised by new footage. And, I get the strategy of many companies, and Ubisoft is a big, proponent as well, of showing things early that things exist to try to get out of the way, get the messaging up front, and then we aren't surprised by too much else. And so I think that for me, that's why kind of A Way Out shine, not only because of the co-op gameplay, and it looks like an interesting new game.
We're going to play that, by the way, Greg. You and me, we're going to break out.
We're going to find our way out.
We're going to find our way out and meet our baby child.
If it's the last thing you ever do.
All right.
But it's because it's new. And when they show that Anthem exists, but we're going to show more of it tomorrow, like, okay, well, I'm more excited for Microsoft now, but...
I feel that could have just been a tweet.
But your conference just fell flat.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what Sony's been doing forever. They show games that aren't going to be out for 5 years, but at least you know what's coming.
Right, and then you just tease little bits here and there. Yeah,
Yep.
It's a fair
Absolutely.
point. Well, appreciate the analysis,
Yes.
Greg. Aside from dashingnerds.com, where you and Scott work, anything else you'd like to plug?
Yeah. If you go to facebook.com/dashingnerds, give us a like at dashingnerds on Twitter, and I am also on Twitter at bringingthewing. I do mostly sports and
He likes
stuff
the hockey.
on Twitter.
I like sports too. I think it's a good man there. Well, Greg, thanks so much for calling in. Appreciate the time.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Hope I can make it tomorrow. If not, I'll join you on the call afterwards.
Sounds good. Hope to see you, dude.
See you guys.
And joining us from Texas, Jesse, welcome back to the PowerSwitch.
It's good to be back once again.
Absolutely. What would you like to talk about today?
I really wasn't sure what I was going to talk about, so I think I'm just going to talk about what E3 means to me, like why I really watch E3, and just kind of shoot the shit to close things out.
Yeah, for sure. So what does E3 mean to you then?
Really, I guess it's kind of like my Super Bowl, kind of. It's that one thing that I watch along with everyone else and get like some chips and soda and just turn on some national television for once. Although I watch it online.
Yeah, and it does make it better with friends.
Yeah.
I mean, and it depends on where you watch it. If you watch a stream that does reactions or things like that.
Yeah.
If you're in a big Discord call, it does make it a lot better. I know, Scott. We've been watching like the last 7 years. I was at
I was
E3.
looking back in my iPad, and I have notes from at least 2013, and I had the iPad. So probably 6 or 7 years, I have to say, we've been doing this.
Well, yeah, I was at E3 in 2010, and then I know the next year we were at your house. It was the 25th anniversary of Zelda. It was that 2011 conference where they opened up with Zelda. That was with Suki, I think, that year with your pupper.
Oh, before that, because Suki just turned 4.
Oh, okay, wow.
So that was before Suki.
Before Suki, well,
were you? I want to say we might have taken a year off while you were out at E3, but I want to say we had done it before then too.
Probably. Maybe. It's just been.
We've done it a while.
So it does. You're right, Jesse. It does help when you're watching with friends, and it's a mix of the monotony, and it's a thing where not everyone tunes in. It's like it's our special time in a way.
Right.
Yeah. And really, the reason I watch E3, I kind of consider myself to be like a casual gamer, maybe more than casual, but less than someone who's really dedicated to it now. So I don't really so much watch for game previews because I'm just going to play whatever's out at the time. I don't really get super excited about anything except for Nintendo because Nintendo's just the exception for me. It's always been my thing. The reason I watch E3 now, because at some point, someone's going to do something fucking stupid and I want to be there and it's going to be hilarious.
There are a lot of good, funny
Which
moments.
is why I'm glad we opened on EA.
There you go. What are some of your favorite mess ups of the past?
I don't know if you would call this a mess up, but like when I think of just like past memes of E3, the first thing that came to my mind was you ever wonder what the bottom of an Avatar shoe looks like? Well, bam, there it is.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's
Classic.
a classic. Yep.
And good job, Jeremy.
Great job, Jeremy is another classic one. Especially if you know a Jeremy, you get to lord that over them.
Every time I meet a Jeremy, I think about that. It's not going to leave my mind. It was just this one-off thing.
You tell me, you
And
did
now
a great
it's gonna
job.
be with me for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I mean, to already have, something that you can point to this
Yeah.
year. We were talking before this conference, and it's like, man, like last year didn't really have many of those big mess-ups. Like, maybe they're getting better. And sure enough, we've got, it was during the Battlefront gameplay where
We have Lizard Man.
they cut to the guy who's on the Clone Wars, or the clone team, and they cut to the monitor with NBA Live, and it's like, oh, those three guys, they're the clones. All right.
They are.
New
Yeah.
clones. Basketball confirmed. I guess we know now that Battlefront's going to be part of the EA Sportomatic universe. I think we're going to get the sport fingers.
It is
What
the
if
big...
Alex Hunter played football?
He would be paralyzed.
Oh my gosh.
Your
At the
hopes.
end of each game, Samuel Jackson comes out. You think you're the only star athlete in the world?
It's the EA Sports Initiative.
Who would it be for? Who would it be for the sports universe? The Nick Fury of sports.
It'd be John Madden playing
It
football.
could be
Man,
John
I would
Madden, 'cause
love-
that's like their big thing.
I would love an EA Sports Civil War game.
Yeah.
Pick
You
a
think you're
side.
the only great player playing great football?
Oh, it's the possibilities are endless.
It's true.
What is your favorite moment of watching E3 overall, Jesse? Like, memory or what have you?
It's hard for me to think of one, but again, I'm just going to go with the first one that jumped out in my mind. There was a point in time where I was actually in Iowa when E3 was going on. And I didn't want to be there, but I happened to be there. But I did have a laptop, and it was connected to the internet. So I was watching E3 on a laptop in the middle of like a town called Whatcheer, Iowa. And I promise you that's a real thing and not something I just made up. And I remember watching the Smash 4 trailer and just freaking out when Mega Man showed up. And
What a good moment.
That was
also the same E3 where Xbox was like doubling down and like, no, look, you see, you install the games on the Xbox One and you have to be online at all times.
That's right.
And
and
then
Sony just was like,
Sony
Just came
just
shut up!
ended their career.
Yeah, that was
Oh, that
E3 2013. That's a great one.
that was
Yep.
a good one.
It was like the infamous $2.99 moment where Sony single-handedly destroyed the Sega Saturn.
Yep,
Like,
yep. Just like that.
loud and broadcast for the entire world. It was great.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was a good one.
I just have to mention one thing about the Battlefront footage. It was a lot of footage, but at the same time, I was under the impression that this was going to be a 60-minute conference. That's what I remember reading on Polygon. And I'm pretty sure the Battlefront stuff was actually after 60 minutes. So I just assumed that was like a kind of post-game, but sort of part of the conference. So I didn't really feel like that was too much. I just felt like, oh, this is all bonus content.
That's fair enough. I can understand that. And if they said, there was a half hour of Battlefront footage at the beginning and we missed
Yeah.
it, again, fair enough. But I just thought, to frame it inside the confines of the conference, as opposed to stay tuned after if you're interested.
Right.
If you're interested, like
After the
Yeah.
press conference, we'll be having a live multiplayer demonstration.
because they already made their case with the trailer of the Game Changers to show off
Mm-hmm.
the multiplayer to get the initial sell. It was just the extended bit there. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all well and good. I just felt like that was a part that wasn't really mentioned. I think this was a good start to E3. I mean, we did get like the typical EA, look at our HD balls. Basketballs.
HD jerseys, yeah,
I
man.
love them HD balls.
Look at this 4K man's ass. We did get that, so I'm glad we started on EA because I love the bullshit. But at the same time, I was actually pleasantly surprised. I think this was their strongest E3 for EA so far, at least of the ones I've watched. There's actually stuff I wanted to play this time.
It was a pretty interesting show, and
Yeah.
to kick off E3, we'll get to Microsoft and to Bethesda tomorrow. But
Yeah.
for EA, it was a good start.
Yeah.
So Jesse, thank you for calling in. Anything you'd like to plug?
How about the album artworkexchange.com, which is what I'm using right now. Try to reset my album collection in digital.
There you go.
Cool.
I don't fucking know.
It sounds like a good utility there.
Yeah, on there.
Well, thank you for calling in.
Yes.
Have a great E3. Enjoy, and hopefully many more memorable moments
Yes.
Yeah, that website is actually albumartexchange.com.
to come. There you go. All right. Well, thanks for calling in. We'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Well, that'll do it for this episode of the Power Switch. Usually we have an ending segment, but for these E3 ones, we start with our
It's a
thoughts.
special.
We get to the callers, and we kind of send it out from there. Kind of odd, to have E3 started down out with the passing of Adam West. TV's
Yeah.
Batman. It's just odd when the timing strikes strangely.
Yeah, it's a
like
bummer.
That. Yeah,
it's definitely a bummer.
But great actor and great man will be missed. But yeah, that does it for EA.
Yeah.
We can join us back to here tomorrow for Microsoft and Bethesda. Bethesda being at midnight on the East Coast here.
That's interesting choice.
It's late. I thought it was going to be 10 like it was in the past.
Last year, yeah.
But we shall see. So thank you for tuning in. Yeah, rhymeswithasia.com/call at our Discord server. And then youtube.com/rhymeswithasia. We do usually have a whole spiel, but these episodes are pretty unique and pretty different. So we'll leave it at that. Want to plug things for Dashing Nerds?
For sure. If you want, tomorrow for Dashing Nerds if you go to facebook.com/Dashing Nerds, we will be doing our live reactions and actually a stream of the news conference, so you can watch with us, see how we think about it as we're watching it, and just kind of chat. And we'll be doing that over at Facebook Live on facebook.com/Dashing Nerds, so check that out. You can also follow us on Twitter at Dashing Nerds, or just go to dashingnerds.com.
And if that live reaction thing isn't your thing, you want to just watch it on your own or with friends, 10 minutes before the show, we'll give our pre-show thoughts, so at least tune in for that.
Oh, yeah.
So, for Scott White and dashingnerds.com, I am Peter Spezia. Thank you for tuning in. With that, switch up, call in, game on.